2, 1. All right. Here we are. We're live. And an abomination of a football game. LSU 45-41 loss in Columbia, Missouri. Hurricane week. Game rerouted to Missouri. And LSU got there a day early Thursday evening, and they should have just decided to stay in Baton Rouge because this was just an awful affair. Miles Brennan, Terrace Marshall did everything they needed to do. But that defense is, look, I've seen some awful defenses in my years alive, my years covering LSU football as a member of the media. I can go back to some of those Curly Hallman teams. I can go back to some of those Lou Tepper, DiNardo defenses. I can go back to Mallory Pivoto in 2008. And I have never seen anything like we've seen out of LSU in two of these first three football games, and it's going to get worse for LSU. Texas A&M didn't do LSU any favors today, losing to Texas A&M, and they're going to be fired up, pissed off, and LSU's coming to town, and they're going to look to feast. And I don't know what Ed Orgeron can do. Bo Pelini, all the coaches in the building is there a bad cop in the building? You talk about making players run and catch extra balls after practice and this and that. Well, maybe there's some coaches that need to do some running after practice. Maybe Bo Pelini, could use some laps.
I think there's some fans who want to get him running out of town.
I've heard everything today. I've heard former players say that every 18 and 7 should have their jerseys taken away. Everybody should have a 0. I've got images coming to my phone from LSU fans sending me pictures of Old Roy Walmart dog food, basically saying the product we're seeing on the field is low-grade dog food. Look, it's one of these deals where you don't like to pile on, you don't like to go the extra mile and take the low-hanging fruit. But this isn't low-hanging fruit. I mean, this was just downright awful.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's a lot of excuses you can make for this team, but I'm not doing that to lead off this show. I refuse to do it. This is LSU. You've got 5-star talent littered all over the field. You've got $2.5 million to hire whatever defensive coordinator you want, basically. It may be more if you find the right one. And, the recruiting does itself for LSU. There is no excuse. You gave up 589 yards to Missouri with a freshman quarterback. They were 0-2. You had film on them. You knew what you were getting. This kid has played. It's not like he was making his first start of 2020. He tore his ACL last year in his first overall start, but only his second start of freshman quarterback. It's not like Tua Tagovailoa just came up here and lit your defense up. No, and it's not like, receivers wide open. Talk about social distancing. They had 20 yards on some of that. That is unacceptable.
0 for 10 on third downs. Putrid running games. All their running backs, their 3 running backs, average close to 7 yards a carry. Where is the leadership on this football team? Look, we get it. The NFL draft, the opt-outs. But I'm looking at some of those guys on the field, and look, I don't know what you do if you're Ed Orgeron. Do you bring some former players into the program earlier in the week and try and light a fire underneath some of these guys to let them know this is very much unacceptable, particularly on the defensive side of the ball? We're not going to pick on Miles Brennan and Terrace Marshall here tonight. We're going to take read some of your comments, and I'm sure they're going to be, look, that last offensive series to win the football game, that was straight Les Miles, Cam Cameron. There was nothing different there that you had not seen before.
Why can't the offensive line push through 1 yard? You got a bulldozer bacteria in Davis Price. Why are you getting bullied at the line of scrimmage? You had 4 downs to get 1 yard.
Yeah.
That's how you know you got some serious problems. And the offense, for what it's worth, they were very good today. They put up nearly 500 yards, but when it mattered, this offense sputtered. Okay, I've always looked at one of the stats I look at to tell just truly how good your offense is. What do they do on third down? That's when it matters. It is advance or give up the ball. And they were 0-10.
Offensive
today.
line. I mean, look, I know it was 2 straight runs. You can say, oh, that was, what Joe Brady might have called there, the third down, the inside the 13-yard line red zone guru, Joe Brady. Well, he's not there anymore. But still, as an offensive line, how can you not get in front of Tyrion Davis-Price and get him into the end zone against Missouri? I mean, guys that weren't even considered, most of them, for offers from the LSU coaching staff, loaded with 2- and 3-star football players. So let me see. I want to check. Derek Gooden, new DC come Monday. Yeah, I already had a guy call me today, a big LSU guy, said that he was already looking into Bo Pelini's contract and what the buyout is.
There's a GoFundMe.
Yeah, Pelini is definitely not the answer. Bo won't be here after 6 games and things don't turn around. Here's the thing. Look at the LSU schedule. Look at what you see so far from LSU after 3 football games, and then look what's coming up the road on that football schedule. Where on earth can LSU get healthy? There's nowhere to get healthy on the rest of the schedule.
I mean, you look at the schedule, and, one of the things I looked at preseason is, okay, well, LSU's first 3 games, they're all manageable. You got Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Mizzou. You should be 3-0, but then the schedule might get some. Dude, you got Florida, Alabama. You still got all your big dogs still on the table.
Man, look,
you're sitting at 1-2.
As bad as the defense looked last year under Aranda early in the season, and with the offense doing what it was doing, it's like, man, I have a hard time believing a Dave Aranda coach defense would look this bad.
No Dave Aranda defense would ever look this bad. I mean, and his defense was built so bend, don't break. This defense is the exact opposite style. They make big plays, but they give up astronomically big plays. And it's there's still talent out there. I mean, Eli Ricks and Derek Stingley Jr., Mo Hampton, these are all very talented guys.
Ronald John Elias says they had 8 players out of Missouri. Yeah, and their top 2 receivers didn't play. And they lit LSU up.
That's why there's excuses you can bring up for LSU.
Eli Ricks, he might want to go back to Elias Ricks. Maybe, what's some of the effort there? I mean, I don't know. It's Josh Forbes, 2 and 3 stars can beat you. Don't knock them. Well, no doubt we saw it.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what we saw.
That's why we're bringing it up.
That is exactly what
look at
we
this,
saw. And that's a problem, by the way.
This may be a 1-win season. Jennifer Smith Thames.
I don't think
unacceptable performance by LSU. Amanda Guidry Landry, Jamie Brady, 3 and 7 maybe. Why is Carter going out for passes? I've never been a fan of him in the pass game, Torrey Carter. Not at all. Not when you've got the weapons that LSU has. He brings up Cole Taylor. I agree. Where's he at? Look, it's LSU was awful into Boswell. Putting guys who want to play, we need a spark on the O and defensive line. It's one of those things. It's like, it's not like you have a bunch of guys that you haven't seen, or there's some guys that are just chomping at the bit to get on the field. This team is already thin.
Yeah. And
you've already got a bunch of newcomers at spots. So this is your team. It's like Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. This is your team. Jimmy Chitwood ain't here.
If there's a bright spot today, it's that LSU's not the only one struggling today. Florida got upset by Texas A&M. Well, Florida's going to come out pissed off, and if Missouri's quarterback can tear you up for 400 yards, what's Kyle Trask going to do? I mean, we see Tennessee is leading on Georgia 21-20 right now, so it's not just LSU struggling. It's going to be a funky, weird year, but I just don't see the end of the road for this LSU team. Against Mississippi State, we had no clue how good they were. Well, this was an 0-2 team. This was not a good Missouri team by any extent of the imagination. And, LSU looked like a high school team out there on defense tonight. It was bad. Why is Jacoby Stevens on man-to-man coverage on all these guys with these deep routes? What are you doing? I love Jacoby Stevens. He brings a great presence in the box. I mean, what are you going to put Glenn Logan covering guys deep next? I mean, come on. This scheme is questionable at best.
Look, here's the thing: you can go line by line at the positions where you have newcomers, and then where you have veterans, the guys that you expect to lift somebody up and pin them against a locker if they're not carrying their weight. Most of your guys that have been in the program for a while are also the same guys that are always missing multiple games for indefinite suspensions. If you get my drift, that's part of the problem. So, look, this is an absolute mess. It's one thing to say, look, this, and I'm the guy that's been saying it. This season is what it is. It's a COVID year. We're just lucky to have football. We thought 2 months ago we weren't going to have it. You had everybody in the national media hoping they could get the college football scalp and it wouldn't get played because of COVID. Well, we have football, and it's one thing to say, okay, let's an 8-2 or a 7-3 will be okay. Regroup, got a bunch of new faces. Get ready for next year. Next year can be a fantastic year. But there's no excuse for what we've seen at LSU 2 of the first 3 football games.
Absolutely not.
And when you look at the schedule the rest of the way, buddy I grew up with, big Florida fan, messaging me throughout the game. Kyle Trask and them going home after that one in College Station. That is not what the doctor ordered for LSU to try and right the ship. I mean, look, LSU lost to Troy and went to Florida and won. I don't think this is going to be that scenario.
I don't think. I mean, that would be. I mean, that Florida team, they bounced back from Troy. They weren't Dan Mullen coach. They didn't have a guy like Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe that was Felipe Franks at quarterback, making one of his first starts. They bounced back. Y'all, if you're looking for a reason to have hope in this LSU team, there's really nothing X's and O's or player-wise that would give you hope. I mean, there's talent there, but we've seen it for 3 games now. The only thing you can have hope in is I saw Ogeron in 2017, his first year as full-time coach, do something very few coaches do. After that loss to Troy, they bounced back. And down the stretch, they only lost to Alabama. I mean, they beat Auburn after being down 20. In fact, they were down 20 to Auburn. I was like, oh, boy. And they came back and won. He keeps his team's head in the game. And I think that's what he'll do. But this season's going to live or die on Miles Brennan's right arm. Guys, I really don't know how to – I don't know how you can call him a spectacular superstar, but – I mean, dude has 1,089 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 63% completion. He's been outstanding.
Yeah, I don't have any gripes about Miles Brennan. Look, there was one play I wish he would have got rid of the ball because he tried to, elude the sack. He's not that quick to try and, get shuffled out of the pocket and run to the marker and get a first down. A defender's usually going to get him and chase him down. But other than that, there's nothing to bitch about with Miles Brennan. Terrace Marshall, what a crazy game he had. Just absolutely fantastic. In fact, on our YouTube channel, his post-game press conference is loaded up. We've got all of we got Preston's post-game story, Brian Lazar's superb analysis. That's both on the front page of TigerBait.com. You'll want to check that out. Our message board is lit up on TigerBait. I really want to thank our sponsor, attorney at law Kenneth P. Haynes, one of our best subscribers and one of the best attorneys in the South. Kenneth P. Haynes up in Shreveport with the Weems, Shemp, Haynes, Shimwell, and more, a law firm in Shreveport, your full-service law firm. Kenny is the only lawyer in the state practicing outside of New Orleans that is board certified in appellate practice in family law. He's been board certified in family law since 2004, board certified in appellate practice since the inception of the specialty in 2017. 30 years experience representing individuals with their litigation need, family, personal injury, commercial litigation. He's a founding member of TigerBait.com. Of course, he's the official lawyer of TigerBait.com, and his firm has successfully cared for people's legal needs since 1983. You see him on here. Call the number. We're glad to have him. 318-222-2100. And he's an LSU grad, class of law grad, 1989, LSU Law School. So Kenneth B. Haynes, attorney at law, our sponsor of our Tiger Bait post-game shows. Glad to have him. Fantastic guy, good friend of mine. And y'all hit the link in the description. Go visit his attorney page. And if you need a guy in North Louisiana, Shreveport, Monroe, everywhere north of Alexandria, he's your guy, whether it's divorce, personal injury, etc. And tell him you heard it on tigerbait.com.
So, Kenny Haynes, thanks for sponsoring the show again. Yeah, and I don't know if y'all noticed, he has some great fanalist comments on all of these shows. I love his commentary. So, I mean, he knows what he's talking about with football and in the legal room. So, I had a take earlier today, and I just want to explain this to y'all. The gravity of how important Miles Brennan is to this team at this point, he's carrying the team. I mean, and not just him, the receivers are also doing great. I mean, Terrace Marshall has been a just straight up stud. Arik Gilbert looked like a freak at times today.
Where did he disappear to in the second half?
I don't know.
Is he nicked up?
Maybe they threw his routes to Torrey Carter instead.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
That's one of the questionable calls. It's like, why are you throwing to the fullback when you have Arik Gilbert and Terrace Marshall? Just get them the ball. They're freaks of nature. Now, Brennan, when he has time to throw and he goes downfield, he threw some beauties today. I mean, there was one where he channeled his inner Joe Burrow, rolled out to the right, connected with Terrace Marshall on the right side there. And then there's one he stood up 75 yards later. Terrace Marshall takes in the end zone. I mean, it was just lights out. You got to protect him. And they didn't do that today. He was running the ball a bit. He took some sacks. If Miles Brennan gets hurt, and y'all don't understand what I'm saying here, that would hurt this team more than losing Joe Burrow last year. Because look who you're going to.
Yeah, and that's just it. And these 3 games, ideally, Miles Brennan would have been out of the game in the third quarter or early fourth quarter, and Max Johnson, who's the number 2 guy, the first guy to come off the bench, would have been given some opportunities. We should have seen Max Johnson at least 2 times by now.
Well, he warmed up today. Brennan went into the injury tent. That's why I brought this up. And if you have Max Johnson have to come in that spot, I'm sure, look, there's nothing against him as a prospect, but he is a true freshman quarterback.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. To your point, is if something happens to Miles Brennan the rest of the way, look who you're throwing a true freshman into.
Exactly, and possibly you could argue that would be the least experienced.
I'm thinking about Florida coming off the A&M loss, looking down the line, and Alabama down there, and the whole audio that came out of that post-game locker room. Boy, that talk about can bite you in the butt. I mean, Can you imagine? I bet you Saban's going to have that audio on a loop that entire week.
I don't even want to think about that one. I mean,
it's just
it doesn't get any easier.
Put it this way: people are going to exact revenge on LSU. The chum it's beyond chum in the water.
I just don't understand how no adjustments are being made defensively. I genuinely feel like you could go out there and run cover 4 and literally just call that the same play every single play, and that defense would perform better than they did today and they did against Mississippi State. At least you're not giving up bombs in the end zone. They might slice and dice you underneath all day. But at least you're giving up chunks of 10, 15 yards instead of 69.
Josh Sibley said he was nicked. I figured he was nicked. I just don't. Josh, if you know what the extent of it was, I didn't. We went live here, and I didn't see if there was any more that came out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Boy, it's just all the comments are defense is horrible.
Yeah.
Just unacceptable. Those are your bright spots, Joshua Forbes. We really appreciate all of you guys participating with us. Jim Gawley, my Nebraska fan, sent me a Twitter link for Fo Pelini. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I've been following Fo Pelini for years.
One of the best Twitter follows.
Kenneth Haynes, broadcast keeps getting interrupted. Anybody else having that problem?
Yeah, work with us here today, guys. We're, breaking out some new technology. I hope y'all are enjoying the quality of the stream today, but we're working on, broadband issues with that. We're going to get it straightened out. Appreciate y'all for working with us on that today. But I mean, look, Todd Pelini has put the kids in a position to be has to put the kids in position to be successful. Offense wasn't too bad, a bright spot. I agree with you on that. I think there's enough talent to where if you just call some basic stuff, I feel like his biggest problem is he gets just enough turnovers and sacks and things like that, like aggressive plays, to justify it in his head, and he refuses to adapt. He's not making in-game adjustments. And Aranda had some games where he got sliced and diced and gashed, but almost always you saw him make an adjustment. The difference in his team from first to second half were night and day. And you know what? The first and second half of this LSU team, whatever his pregame game plan is, it's his game plan. He's sticking with it. He's shooting with his guns. And, man, we'll see if he can bounce back. I mean, I know a lot of LSU fans don't want to give him the chance. Worth noting, I mean, if you were to make that call, is there anybody else on LSU's staff who even has defensive play call experience? I mean, I know you got who's the DB coach I'm thinking of? Derek Raymond, Corey Raymond.
Corey Raymond.
That's the hot name, but he's never called defensive plays.
No, he's not a coordinator.
So would anybody? I mean, what's the point of firing him in the middle of the season? None, right?
That's not going to happen. It's
so anybody who's clamoring for that, just he's what you got this season.
And not only that, in COVID and the buyouts and the dollars are out there and the financial hit that every football program's taken with 25% fans and the large percentage. I mean, almost half of the people who had tickets for the Mississippi State game didn't use them. I mean, yeah.
We kind of.
There's one thing that there was the what they put is the actual, but that the paid attendance for the first game, but that wasn't the actual attendance.
Yeah, and that usually is the case there. I mean, it's just hard to track who's actually at the games and stuff, but we're just not seeing a ton of people. One thing I want to do is look down the schedule. What games can LSU realistically or should win? I mean, Florida at this point.
I mean, if you're just going to go based on that, this team is what it is. They're not going to get any better. They're going to struggle. You just hope that they don't unravel and quit. That they're going to. I have a hard time believing that with the caliber of the coaches and analysts that are in the building. I just do not see any way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But let's just say hypothetically, it is what it is, and you've got a Jims and Joe's problem, and you just got a bunch of young kids that got to get better. When you start looking at the rest of that schedule, and without saying that, if you're going to say these kids aren't going to just extremely get progressively better each week, then I don't know where the wins come from.
Yeah, I mean, you got South Carolina, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M as your quote should.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need to sneak up on somebody. You have to outscore some people.
I think LSU goes 2-2.
I mean, look, LSU got turnovers today. I mean. And you still can't win because of the defense.
Yeah, I mean they're not really defending much. I
right.
mean, literally, it's just like, yeah, you got a turnover last drive, but look at you slicing and dicing them down, right up the middle, right in the middle of the field. There's no deep safety. What's going on? Jacoby Stevens on man-to-man coverage. That's not his game. He's good blitzing. Why is he not doing that? Why do you have dudes out of their elements? It really just doesn't make sense to me. We have to take a deep breath and realize that I'm not saying it will happen, but 3-7 could be a possibility for this team this year. It's possible. And, one of the things you have to understand is there's no fluffer. You don't get 4-0 out of conference games this year. You don't get those fluffers. So, yeah, you'd usually go 7-5, but this year with all SEC, that's 3-7. So it could be a rough season for LSU, and it doesn't mean they're truly a 3-win team, but that's what, that's how the cookie crumbles during COVID. And, the excuses for LSU today are, think about this. Today they were supposed to play in Gainesville, Florida, midsummer. That's what they thought. Okay? Then game gets moved to Baton Rouge. Hurricane Delta comes midweek. They make the adjustment, go to Columbus, Missouri. I mean, that's tough adjustments to make. I mean, and I asked Miles Brennan post-game if it affected their preparation. He said, no, not at all, which is probably the right answer for your starting quarterback to give. But that being said, I don't believe him. Look, I played football. I know how preparation goes. I know things get derailed when in the middle of the week you're dealing with COVID, and then you're switching the game, then you're catching an unscheduled flight, and I mean these things are wild. It's very tough, and understand that while Missouri also had to adjust, they're the ones who had to they had less to do. They got to stay home instead of going on the road. So it was a huge advantage for Missouri in that fact, and it arguably was the difference in this game. That being said, like I said to enter this, there's no excuses.
Hey guys,
LSU.
do me a favor. Type in the comments if is the feed good for you or is it choppy? What happened was I'm also uploading Ed Orgeron video right now, and it was like 3 gigabytes, and we're trying to upload and go live at the same time. Because Preston was pressuring me to get going.
Now, hold up. That extends to Preston's wife who's pressuring you. He has a soft spot for my wife. He knew her as a child.
Yeah. So go ahead and let me know. It's good for you, Jason. Okay. If it's good or choppy, it might be some guys that are maybe. Jennifer says it's working great. I'm showing we're uploading it 203 kilobytes per second.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that good? 203?
203 kilobytes? It's slow. But here's the deal. Everybody's Wi-Fi is a little slow right now. The servers are being impacted by the storm with power being out. So that's a huge part of our reason for this,
And that's not including audio. Audio's at 40. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's a little bit better. I mean, ideally, I think you'd like to have 10 megabytes.
Josh says we're working good. Josh Sibley says feed's looking good. So
thanks, Josh.
Good. Thanks y'all for confirming. I don't know if you guys noticed, how's our audio sounding compared to previous weeks? The video should be much better. We're using a high-def pro camera. Right. We're using a Rode mic, got lighting, and we got a big Kenneth P. Haynes sign here. So we're up on our game here as we navigate these and get these even much better. I've got visions of a full studio up in the loft upstairs. So
brick by brick.
Yeah.
Got to build it up. We're getting some good stuff. Mike's even pushing me to do this for my midweek show. So we'll see. Hopefully we get some real high quality productions going out for y'all.
Leon asked what's going on with the running game and the offensive line. Ooh. I mean, look, I can sit there and say that looked like Cam Cameron and Les Miles on that last drive in the play calling, but at the same time, an LSU offensive line with those guys should be able to get Tyrion Davis-Price into the end zone.
There's no excuse. I mean, you got to just be able to push that ball in. I mean, you shouldn't have to get crafty. 4th and 1, LSU versus Missouri. You have the bigger Jimmies and Joes. There's no X's and O's about it. Run a quarterback sneak. Bully them. You are LSU. You have talented offensive linemen across the trench. I understand you lost 4 out of 5 last year. You should still be able to bully them. I mean, instead of, sending Torrey Carter on a wheel route, how about you make them bulldoze straight to the end zone?
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
I'm not a fan of Torrey Carter as a pass reception guy. Maybe that's a guy you have it out there once a year because the tendency is to not throw to him. But no.
Maybe on 2nd down when, you're up in a game by 7 points just to catch them off guard. Sure.
Todd Martin to get some more beer. He's catching up. He's out in Los Angeles. Glad to have you, Todd.
I was really thinking about grabbing a few beers before.
Joshua Forbes says we look like ESPN. So there you go.
Is that a copyright? Are we going to?
Yeah. We even low tech. We've got Kenny's sign up against the lamp shade, bending it slightly, a little tilt. You can see the TV in the mirror. So yeah, we're kind of a little bit of Wayne's World and Acadian Open channel for those of you in Lafayette that know what I'm talking about.
We're coming for you, ESPN. We're going to replace you.
Let's see what we got here. It looks like Brady was the brains of the offensive play calling. Talked to Ansminger about that at the media day before the Clemson National Championship game. He was the play caller up and down the field. Joe Brady took play calling inside the 13. I don't have any problems with Ansminger. I don't have any problems with the offense.
Honestly,
I mean that last drive, Look, is there a difference between? I mean, look, Terrace Marshall made some big catches last year. Justin Jefferson made some big catches in the end zone. if we go back and look and chart them, I hadn't even thought about that. Inside, when you're in tight, I mean, it's tough throwing the ball inside the 5.
No, that is the toughest thing in red zone is to do that. That's why you don't throw the ball unless, I mean, it was the right play call to do it, but that's why they called 2 straight runs.
But who were the guys last year if you were inside the 5-yard line? You know, you were doing your 50-50 balls. Who was your most devastating last year? Was it Chase or was it
probably Terrace Marshall in the end zone?
It was Marshall over Chase
or Thad Moss.
If you were throwing from inside the 5.
But that being said, it's not like targets are the issue. You got 2 dudes this year.
Yeah, but I mean, like the first one that Miles threw, the third down,
that was Terrace Marshall. Yeah, it was. No, they both got kind of defended there, and I don't know. Those are 2 plays. You know, it's again, you got to get this out of your mind. But those are 2 plays Burrow makes for sure. I mean, and it's you got to get it past your mind because Miles Brennan is doing some things that maybe Joe Burrow wouldn't have last year. And, you know, on the con, Joe Burrow does a lot of things that Miles Brennan wouldn't have done. So, overall, though, he's been outstanding. Again, 1086 yards on the year, 11 touchdowns in 12 quarters played against all SEC foes, and 3 interceptions. And one of them was like a last-second Hail Mary, you know? And it's like, I mean, could anybody have realistically expected more out of him coming into this season? In fact, I remember saying the season rides on his shoulders because I didn't think he was going to be this good. And it's the exact converse of what I thought. The whole team, he's carrying the team. Him and the receiving core is. I mean, the receivers, I thought the drops today were greatly improved.
Yeah.
And that was one issue they had last week. And it turns out the issues are offensive line. I mean, they grade out very poorly, in my opinion, thus far. They've struggled to give him 3 seconds to throw consistently. Defensive line gives average pressure. Linebackers have struggled in coverage and tackling. Tackling is, that's a boogaboo. Now, people ask me why tackling's bad. I think COVID has a lot to do with it because, you know, maybe contact practicing for fear of numbers and lack of practices and plugging in new guys hurts, and it's hard to get live reps.
Kenny Haynes says this broadcast has more holes than the LSU defense. He says it's still buffering and everything on him. So,
ouch.
I'm gonna go through some of my drawers. I think I might have a newer AOL disc for you, Kenny.
Yeah, well, you know, I bet you a lot of people are having internet issues today with hurricane coming through. My power just came back on.
I just went down to 113, and it spiked at 160. It's moving, and I will say this: my Cox. I know multiple people in the Baton Rouge area because of the hurricane. Their Cox has been going in and out. 3 times earlier today, my Cox box reset.
Yeah, mine did too.
So this is probably a South Louisiana Hurricane Delta issue that we're fighting through right now. So
unlike the defensive issues, I bet you we make some adjustments and it comes back next week. So keep that in mind, Mr. Kenny Haynes.
Yeah,
Tiger Bait always adjusts.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Any more questions? There was a few things that I'm not sure that we got.
You know what I gotta mention? I'm sorry, y'all. Zach Von Rosenberg. Dude, how about him? First 2 punts, muffs on the punts, right? I mean, that part of that, a lot of people say, oh, well, that's not him. Well, I mean, the way you punt it does impact if guys can return it or not. And he puts a lot of hang time on it. It's much tougher to catch it with a lot of hang time than that. So good on him for that. Next 2 punts, he does a 59-yarder down at the 10. Then he's down at the 3. Then another one, he gets a 37-yarder down at the 17.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude's a stud. He should be a finalist for the Ray Guy Award this year. He's doing a lot to keep this team in it, you know. And Cade York, another great.
He's not bad for a guy that's about 2 steps from the anti-aging clinic.
No, he's not. He's not. I mean, and look, the joke's on us because once he gets to the league, AARP and all those people, they'll be knocking on his door to sponsor him.
I mean, how many? I'd like to know how many NFL punters he's older than.
Oh man, probably. Well, I don't know. Punters in the NFL grow. I mean, they
get old.
I mean, so maybe half.
I bet you more than half.
I mean, he's 30, so probably half.
He's 30, 31.
No, he's 30. He turns 31 next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
586 total yards to 479. Their running backs averaged 7 yards a carry. 3 of them did.
Yeah.
LSU's total rushing yards 49.
I mean, the box score tells a daunting.
I mean, John
story.
Emery averaged 3.5 yards a carry. But,
Again,
but it's like let's take Miles out of it. 16 rushing attempts the entire football game.
I mean, they tried better. They only had 4 designed runs in the first half. They tried to fix it, but I mean, ultimately, in a game like that, you got to rely on the hot hand, and it wasn't, too little, too late in the running.
Look
game.
at Basilak's line.
What, he had 5 incompletions?
29 of 34, 406 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he had a quarterback rating of 224. I mean,
he's like an SEC veteran, right?
He looked like Joe Burrow against LSU.
I mean, but
without his top 2 wide receivers.
Remember KJ Costello? We looked at him last week, and we thought he was about to be a Heisman.
It's like, man, everybody's going to have – all these quarterbacks are going to have for the rest of their lives, they're going to be talking about the game they had against LSU.
Right, the defending champs. And, I mean, there's just no way he gets any better than that. 400 yards on 34 attempts. He was flawless, it looked like. But a lot of those throws I think you and I might have been able to make. I mean, it's not hard to hit a dude 25 yards open in the end zone.
By the way, y'all need to go to tigerbait.com. You need to subscribe. $1 gets you on the site for a 1-week trial period. Always choose the annual package for $99. That gives you 3 months free. We got all the analysis, post-game video. Tiger Den message board is like a flamethrower right now. I know a lot of you are probably going to have a few pops and want to vent your frustrations as Saturday evening gets here. And the message board is certainly, the Tiger Den Premium message board is going to be crazy the next few days. And
let the anguish begin.
Yeah, it's so top 25 comes out tomorrow. LSU tumbles out. The folks in Lafayette will be talking about how the Raging Cajuns are ranked higher than the Tigers because the Tigers already been rated.
Oof. Yep, get your shots in, ULL, while you can. Guys, we're probably gonna wrap it up here in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
So get any questions you can in. We'll get to them for sure. One thing I want to address that I think is the number one concern as an LSU fan at this point. The program itself is not derailed, right? It's in good condition.
The first question I get, my phone starts burning up after something like this, is how does this affect recruiting? 21 class, you can pretty much mark it down. By the way, Matthew Langlois got an offer this morning, the safety. He actually got it last night. Bill Bush called him. They did a FaceTime. And I think he would have 4 touchdowns the other night.
Yeah.
He does it all for Catholic Point Capee, offered as a safety. So things are getting real interesting in recruiting. Of course, everybody's wondering when Jack Besh is going to get an offer from St. Thomas More. Wide receiver, just became the top receiver in STM history for receiving yards. And Walker Howard's throwing to him. Walker's played 1 series in the second half in the first 2 football games. That Catholic STM game at Memorial next Friday night is going to be something to behold. But I think the recruiting for 21 is what it is. I think the class of 2022 is still tops in the country. I think it's going to be fine. You can go overboard and act like you're heading towards the dog days of LSU football that you saw decades ago with head coaches with names we won't mention, although I did earlier in the show. I think we'll see how this plays out, and hopefully LSU can get better. But if what we see is they are what they are, and you got to get, then it's going to be a long season, and it's not going to be pretty. But yeah, this is going to be debated backwards and forwards, and can Ed Orgeron pull it out and do what he did? I mean, we talked about earlier, this ain't a Troy loss and then going to Florida.
This is tough. This is even tougher. Now, I think they're not playing as bad as they were in that 2017 stretch. Worth noting. I mean, that was a 3-game stretch where it was. Yeah, but they're not that bad.
Okay, I'm just going to go in your lifetime. Name a single game performance out of a defense that was worse than this one.
No.
I can't name
Mississippi
one.
State.
And I was there for 58-3 to Florida in the Holloman years.
Week 1 this year. That's it. That's it. I mean, look, I've seen 08 with the dual coordinators where they struggled against Georgia and Florida. I mean, at least that was Tebow and Stafford rolling out there. This is a redshirt freshman. Comparatively speaking, a no-name guy, Basilic. There's no reason. I mean, he's making his first start of the year, and he looked like a superstar, 29-34. And KJ Costello did the same thing. You know, at week 1, I was giving Costello credit. At this point, shame on me.
What's the SEC shorts going to be like Monday morning?
Ooh, I don't want to see it.
Well, what do you think? What's the guy's name? SEC shorts guy?
Josh. Man, it's going to kick me here.
Boy,
he's so good, though.
Those guys are so good at what they do and having fun and skewering. You just got to know LSU is going to be the butt of it Monday morning when they roll that thing out. So, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank Kenneth P. Haynes Law Firm. Go to tigerbait.com. I've got Terrace Marshall, Miles Brennan, Ed Orgeron video. As soon as I log out here, I'm posting that for you. Got Brian's analysis, Preston's post-game story, message boards flying. We want to have you subscribe to tigerbait.com. We'll be back next week with the Kenneth P. Haynes Tiger Bait post-game show, hopefully after an LSU upset win in the Swamp.
I'll be live from Denver this week in my midweek show.
I got to figure out.
Tune into that.
I got to figure out who I'm going to have to come in here and fill in. I got a few guys that might come in that I got in mind to come fill in for Preston next week. So
we're accepting nominations, but I get to judge.
Yeah, and you can at Preston at PGuy77
underscore. Somehow for some reason that one was taken.
Find Preston Guy on Twitter and give him an earful about having friends that schedule weddings in the fall.
Ooh.
And maybe he'll actually give you the name of that person and their Twitter handle so you can give them all the grief. So we'll wrap it up. See you guys on tigerbait.com. Our shows during the week, and that'll do it. Loads of recruiting, by the way, on Tiger Bait. You got to check out that Trevor H.N. film, the Walker Howard film. There's some LSU targets that are just lighting it up.
That's right.
So see you on tigerbait.com and back here next week.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank y'all. Stay right there for a second.